So, brief introduction, Rob Roy, he's the CTO of security for Micro Focus, and he's got a CISSP and a CEH, and he's also an Annapolis grad, just like John. So, without further ado,
thanks, Andy. All right. Oops, sorry about that. All right, so a couple of things that Andy had just put up there regarding DevOps, but he opened it on the very first slide with a different term. Anybody know what that term was? DevOps? Was it DevOps? It's SecDevOps. It's a DevSecOps. Does anybody know? Secure DevOps. How many people here are in security? How many people are just in dev? How about ops? Oh, so we are going to have to talk about ops today too then. All right, so we got security, we got development, we've got ops, and it is a very comprehensive way of developing and delivering new capabilities out to our markets. So today I'm window dressing. I'm just standing off on the side, and the folks that you've got here are going to talk about a whole range of topics, and we're gonna start at sort of the beginning of this topic. We're going to try and wrap it into, everyone here has very specific government expertise. They've all been doing work in this space and supporting government customers across the board, from an open source perspective, a security perspective, theoretical, engineering perspective. So we've got a lot of different folks, and especially on the practitioner perspective, people who have actually done this. So we know that folks are in this cycle right now of migrating. We've got some work being done by the government today, trying to push people into DevOps and secure DevOps. We just kind of assume from a security perspective, my own personal experience is DevOps includes security. It should not be an add-on. It should not be bolted on. We're done with this bolt-on mentality. It's a given. And I think the government is ready to accept that now, but some might disagree with it. So what I'd like to do is I'm just going to give each of the panelists an opportunity to introduce themselves and give a little bit of a background of their current experience in Sec, Dev, Secure DevOps, so that you have a perspective on where they're coming from, and then we'll get into some of the panel, and we're going to encourage this to be completely interactive. We have a small enough and manageable crowd to where if you receive an answer of something that you've got a question on, raise your hand. We'll go ahead and call on you and engage. I didn't get permission from the panelists to do this yet, so I think everybody's okay with the dynamic nature of it. All right, so we'll just start at this end and move down. Mr. Rabon?
Yeah. Jimmy Rabon. I'm the Fortify product manager. So static analysis, if you're familiar with Static Code Analyzer, and all of the tools and frameworks around that is my product. My background in federal is I used to run the application security professional services team for Fortify. So my background is in professional services. I have a background in development and application security. So I started at the Air Force on a program called a SACO, Application Software Center of Excellence. I did that, that was about 9 or 10 years ago, and then moved over and I work in obviously both spaces, but I have a background in the federal space. But I think I'll bring, obviously I develop a product, right? And we consider ourselves to be fairly agile, so I'll hopefully bring some R&D level experience to that, but also as from the security side, as someone who's—
Is that an open source product that you have?
No, it's not, because it is, the source is not free as denoted by the definition. You can't read our source code. We do have extensible APIs that you can leverage, right? And that's how we wish customers to integrate with us, but it is a commercial product. COTS.
So you can't scan and fix open source software? Is that
No, we can scan and fix our software itself.
So you can fit into a secure DevOps cycle.
Absolutely. I mean, our tool, the whole idea behind our tooling is to fit into the build process, right? So to integrate into these iterative processes that you guys are talking about. So the work, I have some experience with what commercial and both federal workflows for that look like, and kind of how we, from a vendor perspective, approach that in terms of providing the data and workflows that this needs, because a lot of it is automation driven, in my opinion. But we'll get into all the subtleties of
Sounds good.
DevOps and all that.
Cool. Yeah, thank you. I'm Adam Clater. I'm the Chief Architect for Red Hat's North America Public Sector. I've been at Red Hat just under 8 years, and that time exclusively focused on public sector. So it's largely federal as well as state, local education. Before that, I was a sysadmin and architect at a variety of government agencies and commercial entities. One of the great things about our hometown is we have this great biotech and telecom and other things in addition to the federal government. By our hometown, I mean my hometown, DC. And so a little bit about Red Hat. Red Hat is a commercial enterprise software vendor who uses open source as their development methodology. But everything that we do is a commercially available product. So in the same way you would buy a COTS solution like Fortify, you would buy a COTS solution like Red Hat Enterprise Linux or Red Hat OpenShift, which is our container platform. So in that, we find ourselves contributing extensively to open source communities. We're probably, I think, without question, the largest open source vendor in the world, and certainly supplier of enterprise bits in that respect to the federal government. So very interested in the conversation because DevOps, I believe, really does have its roots in a lot of the open source practices and open source communities and open source tooling that make all of it possible. And we find ourselves working with very mission-oriented government customers to deliver in that way. So without further ado, how about one other?
My name's Sheila Hooper. I'm currently employed at NGA. I've been there for about 2 years, so I'm relatively new to NGA. The first year I was there, my whole goal was to set up a DevOps pipeline for NGA or set up the tools so that NGA could implement a DevOps pipeline. So many of those tools are open source tools that we use throughout the SecDevOps pipeline because we're doing static analysis and we're doing dynamic analysis in our pipeline. I moved from there into the operations realm after my first year in NGA because it looked to me like the dev side was pretty good, right? We had every tool that we needed to set up the pipeline. And we're working on the culture shift, which is the biggest challenge that we've had thus far. But the continuous monitoring piece in operations, the root cause analysis requirements of how are we looking at things that we deploy on a platform or those types of things are really, really big. So now I'm setting up the ops piece to be a little more structured so that we can continuously integrate and continuously deliver. I want folks to be able to deliver 10 times a day, 100 times a day if they want to, right? Ops shouldn't be holding that up. There shouldn't be a gate where people have to stop and wait on operations to accept a product. And in order to do that, we have to clearly understand and have everything set up from an operational perspective as well. So that's what I'm working on now.
Excellent. Awesome. And Dr. Lassen?
I'm Ken Lasky. I'm with the MITRE Corporation. Last week, I've got my 15-year anniversary. Are people here familiar with MITRE? MITRE is an FFRDC, a federally funded research and development corporation. We are a not-for-profit, and our sole customer is the U.S. government, both military, intelligence, civilian. And our job is to try to give the government good advice and have them understand what these technologies we're talking about actually do. When I first came to MITRE, services were a big thing. I guess I'm sort of an architect, although I'm not exactly sure anymore. I beat problems into submission, was the way I described it to one of my kids. But we were looking at services. That was the heyday of service-oriented architecture. I'm actually still the chair of the OASIS SOA Reference Model Technical Committee, and tried to lay a baseline for when people said SOA, what were they talking about? I love now when you read about microservices and when it says microservices are SOA done right. I think people have, maybe it's good they've forgotten about the REST versus SOAP wars. When the REST folks were trying to say, no, this is the way it was supposed to be done. But that leads into really, things progress. There's an evolution of ideas. There's a recycling of ideas. we're sometimes asked, do I do Agile or do I do DevOps? Well, yes. A lot of what we're talking about now, I could read a list of things that the Toyota lean manufacturing in the 1980s talked about, of small batch sizes and talking to your customers and minimizing work in progress. These are all things that now, when you read about DevOps, these are part and parcel of the same things. The Agile Manifesto came out in 2001. It basically, I look at it as saying it applied lean principles to software development. And that lean Agile then, through scaled Agile methodologies, now instead of just having a small team, we're now looking at an enterprise and how do I get the goals of the enterprise incorporated. And then microservices shows up, containers show up, and all of a sudden those small batch sizes get real doable. I don't know how people did small batch sizes and tried to do testing when all they had was physical servers. Because thank God now we have the cloud. You need a server, you need 1,000 servers. To spin up identical images. Remember to spin them back down again, or else your budget's going to go low.
Turn off the lights when you're done.
Turn off the lights when you're done. So I see this as really a progression of problem solving. We have some of the same challenges we've had for the past 15 years. We've got some new ones.
Thank you for that.